Hey, what's up, everyone? Thank you for joining us for another stream of Mission Briefing. I'm very excited about today's stream. I won't go too much into detail other than GraphCMS is new to me, so this is going to be a learning experience. I'm very excited to finally dig in and toy around with it. And what better way to do that than with somebody from the GraphCMS team themselves joining us. I have with me today Jonathan Steele. Thank you for joining me, Jonathan.
Thanks for having me, Kurt. It's good to be here.
Yeah, absolute pleasure. Very excited to dive in. But before we do, for folks who may not be familiar, why don't you go ahead and give a little introduction about yourself and GraphCMS if you want.
Sure. So I'm Jonathan. I am on the GraphCMS team, mostly working in marketing and developer relations. I am from the UK. And yeah, so GraphCMS is a GraphQL native headless CMS. And yeah, you can kind of build whatever you want with it, really. It's pretty powerful stuff. It's going to generate a GraphQL schema, all your types, your queries, your mutations, everything you need to kind of pull data from the CMS and build some really powerful applications. So I'm excited to see what we can kind of put together today.
Yeah, awesome. Very cool. So I just got a little bit of feedback that your audio was a bit low. That's on my end. I've adjusted. Let me know if that's still the case, folks, and I can crank it up just a little bit more. Better. Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, awesome. So cool. Very excited to dive in. So why don't we do this? Let's go ahead and flip over to desktop version where we can kind of see what's going on. So here we go. Fun little animation there. And yeah, so I've got here GraphCMS pulled up. I'm not logged in. We're just sitting on the home page. Like I said, I'm new to GraphCMS. So this is going to be basically your experience. If you were coming along, you decided, hey, I need to put some data somewhere. I need a headless CMS. I want to get started with GraphCMS. This is it. This is what we've got. So what's my first step here? I mean, I guess signing up, right, would be like the big first thing.
Yeah, that would help.
Yeah.
So I don't think you have an account, so you can go ahead and sign up. You can use email, password if you want, or go ahead and just sign up with GitHub as most developers do.
I'm going to pick Google, actually.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, agree to terms and service. Boop. And then I'll pick Google. I'm just going to create it with that because it's super fast. But yeah, I could have used GitHub. But yeah, pick any auth you want, folks. So here we go. Creating our account. Boom. Welcome to GraphCMS. So I'm in. Boop, 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 my little screen went away. It might be because I'm zoomed. Let me try unzooming. Nope, I'm not zoomed. Okay, well, I got welcome. Let's see here. Let's just take off
This is a good start.
the welcome and go right to the root. What did I do? I signed in with Google and I broke GraphCMS. Oh no.
I know, right?
I should have signed in with GitHub. Let's try that instead. Or now maybe I'll just try and just log in. Nope, let's try sign up.
Yeah, let's try
again.
that.
Yeah.
I'm hoping somebody from the team's watching this so they can actually kind of jump on this and get this result.
Yeah, so let's try this with GitHub
This
instead.
is pretty embarrassing.
Yeah, well, it's the demo god, so this always happens during a stream, but it's kind of fun because that's what usually an extension. I'm not sure what that means. Yeah, okay. So yeah. I just keep getting.
I think they might mean that
one of my
have a Chrome extension.
That's blocking this. Yeah, that's interesting. Try incognito mode if you don't have. I don't have extensions yet. Yeah, let's try that. Yeah, I do have a lot of extensions, and yeah. So here we go. So I'll just try this again. Let's go through with the login.
Yeah, this is annoying because now you've lost your Google site.
Yeah, but that's totally cool. Here we go. Yes, I am. Two-factor authing this up. We're kind of two-factor authing it. And then let's see what we get. Boom. Oh. The boop. So incognito, I seem to be hitting the same issue. So is there something like dashboard or something, like a different route that I can, what would it normally drop me on if I were to log in aside from welcome?
So yeah, it should just be the path would just be app.graphcms.com. This is really bizarre. This is
Yeah.
not something I've seen before.
No, this is very, very bizarre. And yeah, so, okay, so it would just be to app.com.
Yeah, app.graphcms.com, right?
Yeah, I'm wondering if there's something with my setup that is completely busting this, because this is absolutely unusual. I want to try something else.
I'm going to try sign up with Google too, actually.
Yeah, do that. And I'm going to go to ems.com. Boom, ba-da-boom. All right, so I'm going to sign in with, let me try and sign in with GitHub, see what happens. I probably like put my account into like a broken state, which is fun. Very sorry.
I'm wondering if you already have an account.
Oh, and I signed up again?
It should notify you that those credentials exist.
Ooh, maybe. Let me check my email. Yeah, it's working all right on other people's end. Like it's just a me problem. So first of all,
this is typical.
This is a me problem. I don't know what I've done. Let me try sign in with Google again. Because then the other option is I'll just create a new account, email, password, and I'll just do like a plus GraphCMS. I don't want to waste too much time here on signing in. I've broken everything. Let's see what happens here. I also never use Safari, so this is interesting to open up Safari. Yeah, I think there's something going on with my computer specifically or my account. So let's do this. GraphCMS.com. We're going to get rid of this, close. We're going to sign up. We're going to do plus GraphCMS at gmail.com. Okay. Oh, oops. Well, now you see my password. Enter your name. I agree. Sign up. Oh, smart. Okay. Fair enough. Well, now I have to change it anyway. Let's do this other one I always use.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it's something in kind of browser storage.
See, so this is working. Yeah, this is, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's weird.
That is weird. However, maybe I have to verify as well. I'm probably going to have to verify my email. This is so weird. All right, so let's do this. Hang on. I'm going to flip. I have to go to my email. So I'm going to flip us over to restricted. Y'all will be able to hear us and see us. But you will not, or hear us, but you won't be able to see us. Everybody can hear us, but they now cannot see. And I'm going to go to my mail and see if I have like verify your email, confirm my email. I am at a loss as to what is going on here. Okay, new idea. Application. Clear storage. Yeah, clear site data. Unregistered service worker. Oh, wait. I want to do like clear everything.
This shouldn't really apply though, because you tried it in incognito, right?
Yeah, oh, that's a very good point. I did try in incognito, but I'm just still. So then what did I do? Guess I should have signed up before I did this, because then I could have let you know. Always when it's live.
Okay. So we've tried. we tried Microsoft.
No, I have not tried Microsoft. I don't even have that
Sorry,
installed.
sorry. Have we tried Google? We've tried
Safari.
the Google sign-in. We've tried GitHub. We've
Yeah.
tried
Yeah.
email password.
Yeah. I get my email. I got my verification confirm email, and I did that.
Right.
But when I come back, yeah, this page just doesn't. Firefox. I don't even think I have that installed. I do. Try Firefox. New browser. All right.
Yeah, because you clicking that email link is probably going to take you back to Chrome, right? Where we have problems.
Yep. Okay. So let's do this. So I'm going to pick login. All right, I'm going to try this new thing I did. And 212-601. I don't really need to be on restricted anymore. I will flip that over in a second. Oh, oops. Help if I could email correct. Okay. Oh. I don't know what it is, but it likes Firefox. There we go.
Nice.
Boom.
We're in.
Jeez Louise, folks. All right, cool. So I don't know what I've done to Chrome, but I have destroyed it, apparently. Okay, so we've got this. So we're logged in. So now what do I do? Hi, Kurt. Oh, hey. How's it going, folks? Okay, so yeah, what's the next step? Yeah, Firefox, right? That's so funny. Yeah, sometimes maybe I need to update Chrome or something. Like, who knows what's going on there? Yeah, but all right. Regardless,
Yeah, that was bizarre.
that was so bizarre.
Really bizarre.
So bizarre. So we're here. It's working. Now what do we do?
All right, so you're on your home screen right now. Normally you would have your projects listed here. Obviously you're new, so you don't have a project. So we can create a new project. We actually normally have project templates there, which kind of give you a preset or predefined schema with some content as well. But they're actually kind of offline for a bit of maintenance right now. So they should be back real soon.
Cool.
But in the meantime, we could just kind of create a new project from scratch. Yeah, and you can kind of pick which data center you want. You're probably going to want US East. We could just name our project as you see fit.
Boom. So I have this running moniker of the worst dev, so I just name everything the worst and then followed by something. So we got the worst project. So we're gonna go with that. Actually, let's change it to the best. There we go. We'll flip it for this. All right. So here we go. Example project for the Apollo stream. So I'm gonna create this. Just out of curiosity, what are some of the templates that I would see normally?
Right. So there's a template for a blog, which kind of corresponds directly to a starter repository for Gatsby and Next.js. There is a commerce project template, which works with Gatsby as well. And there's also some others, like a podcast starter.
Oh, cool.
We're going to be working on some other ones too. More kind of along the lines of knowledge bases and kind of reference applications. So there's some pretty exciting ones that are coming in the pipeline.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love that. Okay, so I'm looking here, and these are my options for the plan. I'm going to go with the personal for now, but did you want to talk about the different plans at all, or anything that folks might want to note about these different ones? It looks like a very expansive personal free tier. So 3 users, you can do up to 20 models and 2,500 entries. That's really good for like a free plan.
Right. The personal plan, the free plan, is pretty generous. For a lot of developers, that is going to kind of be sufficient to power a blog or your personal website.
Yeah.
You also get webhooks with that, so you can kind of
that's cool.
integrate third-party services, trigger builds, CI, CD, that kind of stuff.
Old Netlify build.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So let's take personal. We'll take that for a spin. So let's see. I'm not going to invite any team members right now. I'll invite them later. And here we go. So we've got a quick start guide. This is cool. Watch tutorials. I really like how this is included right here. But I feel like I don't need to do this because I've got you with me, Jonathan. So you can just walk me through what we need to do. So I'm going to skip the videos for today. But if you yourself are curious, you can always go and check these out. Let's see if I can copy this link. Copy link location. That's probably what I want. Boom. There we go. So if you want to go check out those videos, you can do that. And so walk me through here what we've got going on. I'm noticing some menu items over here. Walk me through this UI.
Sure.
What do we got here?
All right, so we have the primary navigation there on the left. And we're going to be kind of particularly focused on, I would say, probably 3 areas here. So on the top, we have the schema section. That's where we're going to actually kind of generate our models, add our fields to our models, and which will create the corresponding GraphQL schema.
Nice.
Beneath that, there is the content section. So we're going to actually create content for our schema. So if we create a blog, that's where you would do your blog post creation, or where your blog posts would live. Beneath that's a dedicated asset area where you might, if you were working with assets such as images, videos, PDF documents.
Yeah.
Our CDN can handle all of those, and they will live there as well. So it's kind of a separate content view just for assets.
Awesome.
And beneath that, and I'm really testing my memory right now,
API
that
playground?
I believe is the playground.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. So that is essentially our built-in graphical explorer.
Nice.
For your schema. So it's kind of a good way to play around with your schema as you're kind of constructing it, to get an idea of what the queries would look like, what the fields look like. So I generally have that tab open alongside my schema creation, so I can just kind of play around.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm actually going to open them both up into separate tabs. And then just going down here further, we've got, I see a tab for webhooks. So when we got to a point we wanted to integrate this and connect it to some CI/CD pipeline, we can go ahead and get those webhooks from there. Our basic settings, a nice link to the docs, and of course, some community stuff. This is awesome, which would take you to Slack. Okay, cool. So we've got this going. Let's go ahead and jump over into schema. So this is our schema editor. I've been thinking a lot about what we should build. And I actually have a project that I'm going to be working on coming up, dealing with events. And so I thought it would be fun to maybe use that as a basis. What do you think about that? Does that sound good?
Let's do it. Events, it sounds great. Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Yeah.
We've got some nice, we've got some nice pre-configured fields available that will then nicely to events. We can use dates, location fields.
Oh,
all
perfect.
kind of jazz.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, most of these are virtual.
Could even really, even really, I think net events is a good project to explore. Using kind of the relational fields and union types as well, which we have support for out of the box.
Oh, very cool. All right, so yeah, let's do it then. So I guess very first step is we want to create a model, right? Like something to represent our event. Does that sound reasonable?
That's right, Kurt.
All right. Amazing. So I guess this is an individual. Yep. So here we go. Individual model. So we've got event. The API ID is going to use event. Love it. Events for the plural. I love that you can configure how to pluralize, because that's, sometimes programmatically doesn't come out the way you want. Virtual and in person events for Apollo. All right. So I'm going to create this.
So,
Is that it?
Yeah. So what you'll see there is the, on this kind of model pop out where we're creating the model, you'll get pre-configured fields.
Yeah.
So there's a display name, so that's the event, and then the API ID is the actual type that's used in the schema, and then obviously the pluralized API ID.
Yeah.
There's also a preview URL tab at the top, and we could actually set up some kind of preview instance of our application if you want to do that, say with say you had a staging environment
Yeah.
hosted on Netlify, and that will actually allow previews from the CMS directly using that button that would appear
That's,
when editing content.
that's awesome. Should I just go ahead and click this just like for the funds of it?
Well, we don't. We would actually need kind of
The
an app
fields.
deployed and set up.
Gotcha. So
Yeah.
yeah, let's not then. Let's not derail. I like clicking buttons.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll hold
Let's
on.
get ahead of ourselves.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so I can create this model, right? We're good to go?
Let's do it.
Boom. Model creating. I love it. Very simple. Awesome. So we've got our first model, and then it looks like I can just kind of drag and drop these fields over into the middle. Is my intuition correct? Is that how this works?
Now that's an interesting UX observation, because those fields do look draggable, however they are not.
Ah,
and
you got me.
More interestingly, in a previous version of the web application, they were draggable. I think we might be bringing the dragging back, so I'm not sure. But right now,
Yeah,
you have to click.
got it. Okay, so let's do this though. So we've got this. Oh, well, it makes sense because you need information. So like dragging it, it's like at what point, you still have to go in and do this.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
You used to drag it on, and then the modal would kind of appear. And I think they kind of took it out because there was like some inconsistencies between behaviors of dragging and things like that. So
that makes sense. It's probably more accessible to not be drag and drop anyway. So that's cool. All right, so we have name, or just like, I guess, we'll call it name, which is fine. Or maybe we'll say title, event title. Yeah, whatever. Cool. Title, use as title field. Yes, definitely that. Oh, that's cool. So you can enable translations. That's cool. I guess I'm going to kind of skip over translations. That seems like a rabbit hole, but I am curious is like, what does that look like with translations? Does it allow me to add the translations myself? Will it automatically try to translate things? What's the dilly there?
Yeah, so with localization right now, you would be responsible for managing those localizations yourself, but we are actively working on a translation integration with kind of third-party services that would essentially translate your content for you if you chose to do so.
That's cool. That's pretty wild. That's awesome. All right, so we're gonna go with this. I'm gonna create that. So we've got this. So we got our title, and I think we can just kind of get through a couple of these. So I'm gonna do a multi-line description. Am I going?
So this is interesting. So this is interesting now. It's like we're at a fork in the road now, because when you potentially use something like description, you may want to include, you may want to style the text. For example, you may want to italicize something, underline something, bold something. Even drop in a link or rich text assets as well.
Right.
So that might lend itself more to either a markdown field or a rich text field.
That's interesting, because I was thinking of it as like it would only ever be like a paragraph little blurb, and I don't think in this case I would actually want it. Is a slick UI. Snorlax is always here. This is a slick UI. I think I'm going to stick with a multi-line text description for this because I wouldn't want pre-formatting in this like small description. Actually, I'm going to change the name of this to like summary, but then I'll have another field where it's like event description that could be a longer, rich text field, and people could add more information. I think let's do that. Let's do summary, because what I'm thinking,
that sounds good.
Yeah, I envision a world in where it's like the title and a little blurb, and then if you go into a detail view of it, then you can get like all the event information. We could add links if it's a previous event, maybe YouTube URLs. I mean, I'm just spitballing here, but the possibilities seem endless. A short.
So one of the benefits of using something like rich text or markdown field is that you could actually, or what I've done in the past is actually use MDX inside of those fields.
No.
So you could actually kind of invoke React components inside of the CMS that in your application
that makes
you then
sense.
control.
Okay. I like
which is
this.
really powerful. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we'll create this. So we'll do that. So that's going to be our summary. And then now we're going to do a rich text field, much like you said. And this will be description. And then here a full length description. And you should always add notes, folks, to what the field is for. Just because when people come behind you, it's a good best practice to have.
So that description field as well will actually be present in the schema and not just in the CMS.
Oh, that's awesome. Let's see. Can include MDX components, must be supported. Client. Boom. Look at that. I love it. All right. So we've got this. All right. So we've got, I feel like this is enough. Like, I mean, we could go on. And actually, there's a couple other things that you said, like a date. You probably want a date and time for the event. So let's go ahead and add that, actually. Oh, here's an interesting thing. So this is a date and time. Actually, I'm gonna back out. I think I'm gonna do just a date. Some events span multiple days. So let's do event start date. And then the day it begins. Now, I could maybe potentially allow multiple values, in which case I could do a start and end date. What do you think is the best practice here? Specifically having a start date and an end date, or just saying like event dates and allowing multiple fields?
So my preference, so what will essentially happen is if you check that allow multiple values box, is that when you query for that field,
It'll be,
in this case, event start date, it'll return an array of strings.
yeah.
So that would work, but I think in terms of the implementation, then you would be kind of using a single field for essentially two purposes. So my preference normally is to have a separate start date field and separate end date field.
Okay, let's do that. But
but you know, that would work as well, because you could just kind of destructure the dates from the array and reassign them names. And
yeah, well, yeah, and I guess this kind of brings up an interesting question. I think I like your approach better because I'm very tightly coupling like the idea of the data to how I'm envisioning the client working. And I think that's really a bad practice, because ideally we want this, it's a headless CMS. The whole point is to be decoupled from a client. And so at that point, it feels like a smarter idea to kind of be more declarative in our approach, and not force kind of my ideas of how I think the client should look or behave on this. So we'll do that. We'll do event start date. I like that.
right, yeah, and then your schema as well is a lot more kind of prescriptive about what data you're going to get back.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so boom, we'll create that, and then we're gonna do one more. Oh, go ahead.
So what's interesting is on the top there, I'm not sure if you've noticed yet, but there's different tabs when creating a field.
I have not noticed, so let me do this again. Oh, validations and advanced. Yeah.
Right.
Ooh, yeah. Okay. Ah, yeah.
Yeah, so with validation, we can essentially make sure that date is required. So it requires an input, and make it unique. And also we have kind of regex validation, string validation.
Nice.
Only on string fields. That wouldn't apply to the date here.
Right.
But you can kind of, I think on dates you can say, you know, it's between a certain time or after a certain time. Is that right? I'm not sure.
So for the validation, you could do, oh, I see. Well, we definitely want to make this required, but let me go, and then,
yeah, so the regex kind of matching is only available on kind of string fields.
got it.
Currently.
All right. So I'm going to create this, but let's go back, because I mean, we can go back and edit them. I've missed all of my validations. Like this 100% needs to be required, right? So we got it required.
Yeah.
It's also, So interestingly enough, we've set this as like the title kind of field for an event, but we still would we need that if we wanted to, we could also make it unique. What happens in the case where they have the same title? Is that it would just work, right? It's going to generate some kind of like unique ID, I would imagine, behind the scenes. And so like I'm going to use Apollo Day as an example. It's an event that we put on 4 times a year, but technically the title's just Apollo Day. So in that case, we could have repeat titles if we don't mark it unique, but they would all still become individual events when they're created.
Exactly. So when we actually come to create now content, each content entry will have a unique identifier. So you can have fields that clash essentially that are non-unique.
Yeah.
But the entries will obviously be unique via a UUID.
Yeah. Awesome. So yeah, okay, so good. So we do want to make it required. We don't want it to be unique. This is cool. So here we go with the regex. We can match or restrict specific patterns. This is awesome. I love that. Okay, so we're good. We don't need to do anything there. I'm going to update that. Honestly, all these fields are required. So we're just going to go ahead and make that the case.
Yeah, that's generally the case with most models, I find.
Yeah.
You mostly need pretty much every field that you're asking for.
Yeah, I could see sometimes like if we add, so we're talking about location, which is interesting enough. Like that might not be required, simply because like if it's a virtual event, right? And in that case, there we go.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's see here. One more thing. So it looks like, let me try something really quick. It looks, I'm having some screen share issues. Bear with me, folks. Boop, ba-da-boom. All right, so here we go. Okay. All right, description. We have not updated this yet, so we will definitely want to make this required. So let's do that. And then I think start date was also missing a required. Boom. There we go.
So as you're editing these fields, you'll see in the bottom right there's a little kind of toast notification.
Yeah, I love it.
And essentially that's a notification that the schema is actually being updated. So as you're making all these changes, the corresponding project schema is being updated so that these fields are now marked as required inside of, if you were using them with a mutation, for example, that they would be marked as required now.
Interesting. So this brings
on non-nullable in GraphQL talk.
Yeah, awesome. So we've got map here, but this also brings me to another fork in the road, which is honestly events could happen at the same location. Does it make sense to make our location a model to be able to be referred to by events? And then we could reuse them, right? Like throughout, instead of having to constantly add it as like a unique field. I'm also thinking like presenters, right? This could be something like people, another type of model that we could have that we could include here on this event. Talks. This all seems like good possibilities. What do you feel like? Does this make sense to kind of stop this model here and move on to another one?
Yeah, I would say so. So I think in regards to the venue, I think that should be its own model because, like you said, more often than not, events will be hosted at the same venue.
Yeah.
And whilst you could just have like a venue field on here, which would be like maybe a map or an address, what you find is you get kind of data inconsistencies there. So maybe the venue changes address. You would have to then go back through each event history and update that address. Whereas if you just had a relation to a single venue entry, you could update that address in one place and that relationship would kind of be maintained throughout.
Absolutely. It makes perfect sense, which brings me to my next question which is, can I create a reference now and create the model through that? Or do I go create the model and then come back and add a reference? Chicken and egg.
Yeah, we'll have to create the model first. The model comes first in this instance.
Awesome. Very cool. So let's do that. So we're going to create a new model, and I like that. We're just going to go with venue. That's a much better name. And then this is physical locations for events. All right. So we're going to create this model. And now I feel like I'm just flying. This is a very easy UI. So I'm already up on how to do all of this stuff. So let's go ahead and just start doing this. And then we'll say, we'll call this, actually, we'll just say name. We're already in venue. So venue name is very repetitive. And then this can be a name for the venue, and then we'll use this as the title field. We'll jump into validations this time first. We're going to make this required. And in this case, for a venue, I would think it would be weird for venues to have the exact same name. I'm going to set that as a unique field. I feel like that makes sense in this case, because if you're creating one with the same name, it's probably the same place, and you should probably be warned about that. Yeah. Okay, so we'll do that, and then so that's good. So we've got that, and we really don't need too much information about the venue, really just the name and I say the location. So let's come back down here to map. We're going to pick one of these, and we're going to say location. Location for the venue. So this gets interesting. It's definitely going to be required if you can't have a venue without a location. So we'll do that. So we're going to create this. And then actually, would it make sense to also make this a unique field? Like, you know, you wouldn't want two venues to have the exact same location, right?
Potentially, yeah.
Or, yeah. Yeah, I'm going to make it unique anyway.
So what the location field essentially is going to map to, it's going to relate to a Google kind of address. So it's using Google Mapping API.
Perfect.
So when we come to actually create a venue, we'll be searching Google's index of venues.
Awesome. Yeah, that's perfect. Okay, so we've got this. Honestly, I feel like these are the only two fields we need. Let's hop back to events super quick. And we're going to come down here and add this reference. So we're going to say union type. Okay, so allow multiple models to be referenced. In this case, no. We only want to reference venues.
Yeah, so that's so allow multiple models reference. As you can see, that is kind of union types. And I think that isn't probably useful in this case.
Nope.
However, that might be useful for if we were to create a person model. What we could do is then we could have a union type that would relate to, for example, an MC or a speaker or something like that.
Organizer, like all these different type of people that might be involved within a different event. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I love that. Okay. So now walk me through this. I've already, quickly figured out here. I can do my kind of one-to-many and many-to-one type relationships. I love that it gives you a visual representation of what that relationship looks like. So kudos to the team, because I feel like this is often something that can get very confusing for folks when you start talking about references and the relationships between them, especially if they're coming in, if they're not familiar with like database, design or schema design. And so, yeah, I really love that y'all took the extra step to represent that. That's very cool. But I'm also curious what...
Yeah, so this UI is actually pretty new. For anybody that's used GraphCMS previously, this is quite new. We kind of reconfigured how you create and manage relations. So it's good to have some positive feedback on that.
Yeah, for sure. And so then here we got configure reference. So it's been pre-configured. Okay. So they're just, oh, I see. This is how this will be represented on the event. So it would be event, and then venue is going to be the field in which I would access this reference. Is this correct?
Yeah, exactly. So because in the previous step, you said that an event can only have one venue, which is correct.
Yep.
That field is singularized. It's not pluralized.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how you would access the venue fields for that event.
There we go. And so then the next one is going to be configuring the reverse. And this is really cool because now in my app, let's say that I want to do a list of events based on the location, right? This might be useful for a lot of people. I'm in Detroit or I'm in, LA. Like, what are all the events that are within venues, like within this area, right? And so this is that reverse lookup. So if I were to actually be querying for the venue, then events would be a property that would be available on that type. Is this pretty accurate?
Exactly. So if you were doing a lookup for a single venue to build perhaps a venue page, and you wanted to list out kind of all the events
Yeah.
that that venue has hosted, past and present, that would be a kind of way that a query that you would write. So yeah, it would be, as you can see, it's pluralized there because you specified that this field can have many entries.
Yeah, this is great. I love this. So we're going to create this. And boom, there we go. So now we've got venue added to our events. So what's interesting to me is I'm just so curious now. If I go back to venue, will I see events? Yay! I just had to know. So it's already taken care of that cross relationship for me. So this is awesome. A Winter's Tale 97. Thank you for the follow. Thanks for joining us. Also, I missed this, but I guess Lava Beats, thank you for the follow as well. Thanks for joining us, y'all. I hope you're enjoying this. Okay, cool. So, I mean, we're set up. We could go on, creating, more models. But I feel like we've got enough to work with, right?
Sure.
Yeah. So I'm really curious to check out the schema at this point. So I want to, ooh, look at this. I got all my notifications. There we go. So I'm going to I guess, do I need to, it's already here. So this has been updating. I just had this tab open next to that, and I can see here I'm in a playground, which is this a custom built playground? Did y'all just like restyle a playground, or because this looks different?
I'm not exactly sure of the implementation, but yeah, it's using GraphQL Playground, I believe.
Okay.
It's pretty nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what, like I said, it's something that I often use whilst constructing a schema, just to see how those queries will look.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And so we can see here that we've got our event, and then if I wanted to, I could come down in here. We could grab the title and the summary, and then maybe we want to have so where would I get? So somewhere on here, I would expect venue. Oh, here it is. I just can't see it. So we would have venue,
Yeah.
and then location, and then I would get maybe just like the name, the lat long, so that I could just like do something with this. Now we don't have any events. Oh, but we need a where. We need something. Oh, because event
Yeah,
is
so that's
singular. Yeah.
right. Yeah. So if you change that to events, then that would return multiple, or return
Exactly.
an array of events. Whereas an event, a singular type root query field like that,
Yep.
expects arguments to actually, an ID, a slug, a title, something like that.
For sure, which makes perfect sense. Yeah, so here we go. So if I run this, we're going to get an empty array. There are no events, right? We haven't created any models yet. So I say, let's go ahead and create one event. We'll get this going. And then we can maybe start looking at what that would look like as far as like working with this and building out a client. Does that sound like a good idea?
Sounds great.
Love it. All right, so we're going to go into content. So I'm going to open that up in a new tab because we got to create some. We don't have any events yet. So here we go. We're going to create a new. And so this is a new event. So I'm going to just call this Apollo Day. I'm going to just like do like a bunch of faux information here. 1 day event focused on React and GraphQL. Boom. So there we go. What's the database on the back end? I don't know. So I guess this would be a question for you from Feigned Figure, which is like, I guess they're curious just like where the data is like stored. I'm not sure stained figure, if you mean like, so I mean, it's just a headless CMS. So wherever they're storing the data is just they're kind of taking care of that for us. We don't have to concern ourselves with essentially what is the data structure like, because we're just going to query all of this through our GraphQL API. I'm not sure how much you want to get into the specifics of like how GraphCMS is architected. But let's see. So we've got our description here. So I'm just going to fill in anything because this is required. So let's see. This event will feature 4 talks and an AMA with Apollo. And we just had an Apollo day last week, so I'm basically just like taking all of the info from that event.
Nice.
Yeah. Apollo OSS team. I'm just gonna make this like, boom. So there we go. The event start date. I can do something in the past. That should be fine, right? That was last Tuesday.
Yeah, you can use whatever day you want. There's no validation on that.
Yeah.
So
cool. Okay, and the end date is the same. Cool. Venue for this event. So create, I love it. Create and add a new event. So that was going to be my next question, which is, can I create those related entities on the fly? And we can. So it flies out. Oh, this is cool. So let's do a name. Let's do, I don't know. We'll call this like, what's a hotel? Oh, Four Seasons.
Landscape.
Total landscaping. Let's see if I can find that. Oh my god, I can't. That's amazing. All right, Four Seasons, total landscaping. I hope this finds
Nice.
it. I hope it finds it. Oh, that's amazing. Cool. So, okay, so we've got this. So now we can just save and publish our venue, and I imagine that's going to attach. Now, since I've searched and it put the map, I can take that to assume it's got the location, right? Like that. This is it. That's all that was needed. This is so amazing.
That's right. Yeah.
It's so amazing. I can't even. Ugh. Cool. So we've got that. Our entry was created and published, and so now it's already attached. So this event it's done. It's good to go. Now, one thing
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just about to say, there's a nice little feature that we could do now that we have some content to actually query in the playground.
Yeah. So let me go ahead and save that then. Right? Should I save it first or wait?
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead and save it.
Cool. So now if I go back, you're saying here, and I run this, boom. Look at that.
Yeah. One of the you can like do that directly from the content creation screen or the content editing screen. So you can, yeah, and it'll actually kind of automatically pre-populate every field for that query to be run.
How
so you can kind of see all of the data attached to that.
Do I go to the meatball menu?
So the meatballs.
Yeah, there we go.
There should be a preview and playground.
How cool is that? That is really cool. That's awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah, so you've got every field there, including obviously all the system fields that are kind of automatically pre-generated as part of the schema.
Okay, that's awesome. All right, so we've got that, and we can see here now. What's interesting to me is I'm noticing under this data we've got a stage draft. Is this separate then? Okay, venue stage draft. So I'm noticing here that like some stages say published. Can you just walk me through like what's the difference between I guess I have to go back. Let's go back here. Yeah. So I've saved it, but I haven't officially. Oh, I did publish this.
Yeah. So essentially, what we have is out of the box with every project, you get kind of two what we call content stages. That is draft and then published.
Got
So
it.
when you when you kind of create an entry for the first time, or you make a change to an existing entry, saving that will update it on the draft stage,
Got it.
and then you can publish that to then the published stage. So that what that means is you can actually query the stage, the different stage, depending on your kind of dev environment. So you
Yeah.
might have a production environment that's obviously querying for published content, or a local environment or a staging environment that's publishing for draft content, so you can preview changes as they're being made.
Yeah.
And that's just available in the schema or via the API access tokens, which we'll kind of pre-configure in a bit.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Okay. So yeah, this is okay. So I think we're good to go. So technically this is published. So if we wanted to, we could start building a React app right now and query out for this event. Is this correct?
That's right, yeah.
I say let's do that. Are we ready to move to some code and write some queries?
Let's do it. So I think whilst we are in here, it might be worth going to the settings, the project settings.
Oh yeah, let's do that. Okay.
Yeah, so in here, obviously, what we want now is to actually get the endpoint for our project, the API access. So if we click on that tab, and each project has its unique endpoint for us to query. So we're obviously going to need that to use with Apollo.
Yeah.
And then beneath that is how we configure access to the API.
Ah.
Now, right now, it's not publicly accessible, and we haven't set up any tokens. So if you wanted to make it public, you could make it public.
Oh, that's cool.
Just by kind of, yeah. So you can select there which stages are available.
And that's for public permissions, right? Like, so this would be like, meaning if I click published, anybody with this URL could then query to this endpoint. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, I mean, we could do that, but I mean, do we want to probably want to also, I'm just very curious as how like the authentication works. What would that look like if I wanted to use a token instead?
Yeah. So further down on this page,
oh, just scroll.
There is the permanent auth token section there. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
And it mirrors the public access. So you can specify which stages the token has access to, whether they have write access via mutations, and then you can obviously give the token a name.
Yeah.
So generally what I do is have a development token, which will query from draft. I'd have a production token, which will query from published. And then I'll have a separate mutation token, which has kind of the write access to the project.
Got it. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So I'm just going to create one here for development, and then we'll create one here for production. And much like you just said, and we'll create that. And then we'll want one for write access. And then this would go to, so I can't check this. Do I have to check something here first? Not letting me check.
Yeah. Yes, you can see the note there. Mutations can only be enabled if you graph queries are enabled.
Oops. Got it.
What you can do is have enable published access as well, and then you'll be able to kind of set the default. So if you enable content from stage published for that query, and actually specify the default.
Got it. Okay, so we're gonna do this, and then would say we would want it to publish. That's interesting. Where would you want your mutations to write to?
Well, the mutations will always write to, as I understand it, this is actually a good question. I think they will always write to draft, and then you would have to do a separate publish mutation. So essentially there's an update mutation for each type, and then a published mutation for each type. So the mutation by default, just updating it will set it to draft, or if you created a new entry, that would be in draft, and then you have to publish that separately.
Which makes sense. Okay, that's awesome. So I'm going to stick with draft. We create this. Boom. All right, so we're good to go there. So we've got all of our tokens here. We've got write access, production, and a development token. So we've also got our URL, so we can keep this. So I think the next step is like we need a project, right? We need something to be able to query this from. I'm gonna go ahead and get that set up. Does that sound good? Is that the next step?
Let's do it.
All right, so I'm gonna open up Visual Studio Code. And now that I'm thinking about it, there's no GitHub project I need to pull or anything. So I could have actually already done a live share with you. Let's see, why is this open? I don't want this project. Let's do new window. Don't save. All right. Let me resize this. All right. It's over. Cool. So we've got that. Git lens. Cool. So first thing I'm going to do is get a live share going. And I'm going to go ahead and send that your way. Find Skype. Where are you? Oh, here we go. All right. And I'm going to drop this live share link for you so you could join. While you are doing that, I'm going to bring up terminal. So let's do... here we go. Let me make this a little larger. Yeah, why not? Let's update. Wow, you joined so fast. I normally have so much trouble getting folks to join. It normally takes like a minute or two. But
Really?
Yeah, it was super fast. I love it. Okay, so we're gonna cd projects, and then I'm gonna npx. I'm just gonna do create React app. Does that sound good? Just go with the standard React app. We could do Gatsby. We could do like a whole lot of things, but I think for simplicity's sake, we just do like a new create React app. What do you think?
Sure, whatever you're familiar with. My flavor of the month at the moment is Next.js, but if you're comfortable with Create React app, that's cool.
Yeah, I'm not that comfortable with Next.js. It's on my list. I would be interested in doing it, but for time's sake, I don't think that I should take on the burden or give the burden to everyone else watching of me trying to figure out Next.js for the first time. But also on my list, I'm very curious about Next.js. So it's been on my list.
I'm happy to show you the way if you want in the future, in another stream, perhaps.
Absolutely. Let's do that. Yo, Mr. Darkside, what's up? How's it going? Thank you for joining us. And yeah, let's do that. I would love to do that. So we'll call this GraphCMS events. I'm in projects. Yep. So we're good. So I'm going to create that. I should play my elevator music while this is going. So how long have you been using Next for? The curiosity.
Yeah, pretty much the majority of the year, I would say. Kind of heavily got into it around Next 9, which I think came out earlier in the summer. That's when they...
Wow, 9?
I think Next 9 was when... Yeah, they're in 10 now. Like, they kind of fly through major releases quite fast.
Yeah.
But I think 9 was when they introduced their static data fetching APIs, like get static props, get static paths. So I was very much working with Gatsby a lot of the time. So I was in that kind of static mindset. So yeah, when they introduced that, I kind of switched and haven't looked back.
Nice. Yeah, I've been hearing that from a lot of folks. And then just seeing all the stuff that they're doing over there with like e-commerce support and their analytics offering and stuff. It seems like they're really doing a lot. So yeah, I'm very curious to try it out myself. I've also been using Gatsby pretty much, for the last, I don't even know how long, couple years. Yeah. So yeah, I definitely am very keen on figuring out what's going on with that. So, oops.
Yeah, I still use I still use Gatsby heavily in my day-to-day GraphCMS. So
Yeah.
GraphCMS.com is a Gatsby app, and it's powered by our CMS. So yeah, I work with Gatsby all the time. Like I said, there's a lot of starter applications that we've got that are all Gatsby as well. I built the source plugin for GraphCMS, the Gatsby source plugin. I built that. So yeah, I work with Gatsby all the time.
Nice. Oh, I think this just ended our live share. Is that?
Yeah, it just cut me out.
Yeah. See, and that's why I wait to do the live share, because until you create I always forget that. Yeah. Until you create the project and like open that up, it just, that's okay.
Right.
Yeah. We'll share it again. But yeah, I knew there was a reason why I don't do it like in the very beginning. And now here it is. That's the reason. Cool. But regardless, we're here, we're in. So as soon as you get to join, we'll be good to go. Ooh, this is new. Report.
Joining right now.
There we go. Report web vitals. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I haven't used Create React app for a while.
Yeah, this is
I'm gonna be honest.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well,
I kind of skipped like vanilla React. Like I say vanilla React. Like I kind of skipped like Create React app, and I've mostly my React experience has mostly been with Gatsby on Next.js.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like a framework on top of React. So
yeah. I use this a lot for like when we're doing a stream, and it's like it's quick and easy to spin up a React project and just kind of hit the ground running. And I like it because we don't have to onboard folks who might not be. We get to focus on the GraphCMS part as opposed to like, well, here's also Next.js or Gatsby, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I kind of like it for these smaller, I guess like demos or projects. So okay, so we're here, we're up and running. The next thing is we're going to be talking to a GraphQL API, and in order to do that, we need a GraphQL client. And oh, hey, I happen to know of a GraphQL client that we could use, being Apollo client. So I guess next steps is just getting that going, right? Let's get that installed.
Let's do it.
All right, so here we go. So what we're going to need for that, we're going to yarn add at Apollo client. So we're using Apollo client 3, which is now under the at Apollo namespace, as opposed to like Apollo dash client, which version 2 is on. And then we need GraphQL. So we're going to install that. Those are the only two dependencies that we're going to need. While that's going, let's go ahead and set up our provider for Apollo for this. So we're going to import a few things. We're going to, import, you can do this. Apollo, Apollo provider, as well as Apollo client, as well as in memory cache. I believe that's what we want. And then it's going to come away from, that's going to come from Apollo client. So we've got that. So what we're going to do here is we're going to say const client is equal to a new Apollo client. Apollo client. So a couple things. We're going to get the URI. We'll go get that. We're going to pull that from from GraphCMS. We're also going to need a cache. So here we'll do new in memory cache. That's going to take care of our cache. Honestly, this is it. This is all really that we need, except in the case that we're auth. So we're also going to want some headers. And I'm just going to guess that we're probably going to want an authorization header. I don't know. I'll have to defer to you for that. But first, let's go get our Firefox. Yeah, okay. So that was interesting. That's the first time I've had to do that. So I've copied the URL. Okay, so we've got that. We've already got our URI, and now we want our token. So I guess when I want to come down here, I can just hit copy. I guess we'll use the development token for now and pull from drafts. Would that pull the latest draft of the event? Would that work? or should I just do
Yeah, so
production?
draft will always be up to date regardless of whether it's kind of published or not. That'll get the latest changes.
Perfect. So I could do the whole .m thing, but I am going to go get rid of this space after the stream. So don't go try and using my keys. But I'm going to, drop that in there. Do I need to put like bearer or token in front of this? What's the header structure?
Yeah,
like?
so it's probably a good point. It's probably a good time to actually point the GraphCMS docs if you
let's do it.
wanted to have a look at that. Yeah, but basically, essentially, we need to prefix the token with the bearer string. But yeah, we just kind of been working on revamping our documentation.
This
So if you
looks
go to
good.
graphcms.com/docs. Yeah, this is Gatsby with MDX, so it's pretty nice.
Love it. Yeah, we're doing the same thing. It's so nice.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got this. Let's go back to VS Code. Boom. So make sure that that is okay. So we've got our bearer. We've got our token. So essentially, this is it. We've got a client now. We've set this up. So the next step is we need to make this available to our app. So we're going to come here, and now we're going to add Apollo provider. We're going to pass in client. And that's going to be our client. And we're going to close it out. And boom, that is it. So in theory, our app should run. So let's test that. Let's make sure it runs. So this is probably going to open in Chrome because that's my default browser, but that's fine. We can always just open it up in Firefox. No big deal. Actually, why don't I go ahead and do that now? Command C. Let's close this out. As a matter of fact, I can just get rid of this altogether. I can come back here to Firefox and we'll just do tab. We'll load that up there. So it's building, so that's why the pages. There we go. Oops. So I just went I hit Control Tab, or did I just close that accidentally? I think I just closed it. Oh no, I'm back in Chrome. Why am I back in Chrome? Goodbye. Here we go. Okay.
It's probably a default, right?
Probably. Yeah. So we've got this loaded up. We've got it configured. We're not hitting any errors. That means Apollo client is configured properly. So really the next step is like we can actually start querying for these events. So let's go here into app.js. So what we're going to want to do is right now I'm going to import two things. I'm going to import use query as well as GQL from Apollo client. All right, and first thing we're going to do is structure a query. So we're going to say const equals GQL. And now the cool thing here is we've already done the legwork of figuring out our query. So I can jump right back into Firefox and we have multiple options. So we've already gone ahead and done this. We could also do as we did before, where if we go back to our content and we go into, so I guess I would technically hit edit to load this back up. We could also preview and playground and grab the query from there. So we have a couple different options for how we get to the query. But since we've already got it configured, let's grab this. We'll jump back into VS Code. Let's do a little pasty paste. All right, so we've got that. But now we actually want to use this, right? We want to access this data. So we're going to say const. And what we get returned is an object that's going to have data, loading, and error. So these are the, I think it's error, not errors, equal use query. And in this case, we can just pass in our query, which is events. And so this is all it's going to take to actually make our first GraphQL request. For folks who aren't that familiar with GraphQL, I'll just do a very, very quick primer, which is in to say that GraphQL is a, well, really it's like a, it's actually a, what's the word I'm looking for? Not schema.
SQL for the front end.
It's SQL for the front end. It really is. So it's a combination of a DSL, like a, which is like a language for making your queries, as well as it is what's the word I'm looking for? What do you call not a spec? Thank you. A spec
Yeah.
that you can use to essentially set up a server and client, really any type of just over the network communication. And honestly, we're seeing GraphQL start to be used in other places where the query language is being decoupled from the idea of the internet. We look at something like tools where people, Neo4j is using GraphQL as basically a way to talk directly to a database as opposed to like having a middle layer. So it's pretty interesting. But yeah, it's really about a declarative approach to interacting with other computers, other servers, and fetching data or updating data. So it's kind of the very rough 1, 2, 3 on GraphQL. All right.
It's a good TLDR.
Yeah, right? A little TLDR for folks who might not be super familiar. So what we're going to do here now is so we want to handle a couple states. We're not going to have our data right away because it's making requests. It's got to go out and fetch it. So we want to check first if we're loading. So we're going to say if we're loading, and we're going to return some JSX under that case. And what we'll do is we're going to pull out this image and this paragraph, and we'll put this here, and we're going to change this, and we'll keep it simple. Loading. So this is going to execute. Why are you giving me an error?
You'll need a React fragment around that. Yeah.
Thank you. Like, wait a minute. Yeah. All right. So there we go. So so that is handled. If we hit error, this is also not good. I can't remember if it's error or errors, but we'll find out here in just a second. So if we hit an error, we're just going to, well, first let's console error our error. And then we will return. Let's do an H1, get all up in your face. You broke it.
Yeah, let's hope we don't see that.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, let's go. You broke it. So boom. And there we go. H1. Yeah, I need to thank you for taking care of the spam in chat. It's one thing I have to add. So what we do, actually, here's a fun fact. The layout, what you're seeing in like the chat that's on the layout, not in Twitch itself, that's all a React and GraphQL app. So a lot of that is powered by APIs, subscriptions, send stuff down, yeah, to the chat. But what I don't have yet is what I need to add is that when a ban command comes through, it goes through and deletes those messages. It takes care of it in the Twitch chat, but I need to update that to also remove them from the stream itself. I could have reloaded the entire chat, but the message wasn't too bad. You know, it wasn't like anything offensive or something. So I left it. But yeah, always one more thing, the edge case that you miss. So if you're going to put your own chat into your Twitch stream or any other stream, make sure that you are capable of handling messages you don't want to be visible. Okay, so we've got this. So the next step is, what happens when we get results, right? So we have data. So we want to do data, and we can jump back to look at exactly. And the thing I love about GraphQL is here's our exact data structure. So I know that data is going to be the root object. So in this case, because we're pulling from like the data, Apollo calls the property data that it comes under, but then we're going to have a data from within our query. So technically it's going to be like data.data, which I'll just destructure to eliminate that. And then events. Events is going to be the property that we have. So if we come back, what I mean is right now, this is the property that Apollo returns to us, and then it would have the data on there. So technically it would be like data.data. We don't want data.data. So what we can just do is destructure this first object. So now data is actually going to, actually it does not like that. Why can't I do that?
You need to assign the actual, specify the actual key. Yeah.
Yeah. And so then we can't call, oh yeah, so this should work. There we go. All right.
Yeah, you've essentially just reassigned data to the nested
Yep,
data
to the
from
child.
returned from GraphCMS.
Exactly. So now we should be able to say events, data.events.map. And this is going to give us, so then it would be event, and we can do this and get some ASX going. Oh, that's interesting. Why is that? Event is deprecated. Oh, oops, I did the wrong arrow. Like, what is happening? There we go.
It's a
Yep.
hyphen arrow function.
That was weird, right? I didn't even know that was a thing. That ligatures for the win. Okay, so we've got this. So we've got our event. So let's do. Actually, we'll just put it inside of a div because we're gonna need a key anyway. And so we'll do event. I'm gonna update this query to return what I imagine to be an ID or maybe UUID. Let's go find out. ID.
Yeah, I'll not spoil it.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, ID. And this is the power of GraphQL and why I love it. It's like, oh, you're curious about what it is. There's no like going to some Swagger API docs or anything. It's you come here, you get IntelliSense, you figure out exactly what the key is, you run it to test it, and you're good to go.
So you've got the docs tab on the right hand side there that'll actually give you the kind of the SDL.
Yep.
So you can actually kind of poke through and see all your types and everything.
Yeah, and we can see here events returns an event. You can also see to go back, there's a lot of finite control that we can get as far as filtering what events we specifically want back. And so this is also very interesting to be able to figure out and say like, okay. And then on the flip side, we can just come here and check boxes to accomplish that same goal. But yeah, it's a very declarative approach to fetching data, which is why I love to see GraphCMS exist. All right, so we've got our ID now. So now we have a key field, event.id. Let's close that off. And then here, so let's do some things. We've already got, we'll do H2. And then we're going to have our event.name. And we're going to, we're not going to list all the fields right now, just to get this going. And then P, let's do our summary. This will be summary. And if I really wanted to, because we have the URL or the schema, is introspection supported? Do you know, like if I tried to point like a GraphQL extension at the schema, would I be able to do like IntelliSense as long as I pass the proper authentication? Do you know?
Yes, the schema should be publicly accessible regardless of kind of tokens.
Nice.
So that should work with IntelliSense.
That's awesome.
So actually, that'd be exciting to see. I'd like to see that.
Yeah. Oops. I think I broke this. What did I do? Expecting closing tag for 8. Oh.
Yeah, you're just missing the
slash. Oh, thank you.
Oh.
Oh. Amazing.
The pitfalls of pair programming.
Yeah, that's amazing. Okay, so this is running.
Both too eager.
Yeah, so let's go see what we got. Let's go see if I broke it. Yay! I did break it. Oh, well, no, we knew about that. So let's just reload. Okay, so I did something with my destructuring where it's saying that data is undefined. So I don't think it likes that. So let's just not be so clever about it. Let's get rid of this. And then let's just say data.data. I think like trying to overwrite it with the same name was not the best move. Or maybe it's just data. Maybe I'm wrong in thinking that, yeah, data.data. Maybe it is just data.
Yeah, I'll be interested. I'm not sure about that either. I know that GraphCMS would normally return a data key, so perhaps Apollo just kind of uses that as the base key.
Yeah, it's working. So that was it, taking off the data. But I'm not seeing my title, which is interesting. So we got our summary. I think I named it wrong. Name doesn't exist. I'm pretty sure if we look at this, yeah, it's title. Yep. So here we go. Apollo Day, a one-day event focused. So There it is. We're only at really an hour in, because the first 20 minutes was me trying to figure out what the hell's wrong with Chrome. So we're at 1 hour in, and we've already set up our back end to support events with custom venues, and we're already logging, like have an app technically that is working, and we're running code. So this is pretty awesome. Very impressive, honestly. Very intuitive UI. But I'm curious. So like, we've kind of shown off like how fast you can get going. But like, what else is there about GraphCMS? So like, maybe we kind of switch gears a little bit, because I'm interested to hear about like, what are the things that y'all are excited about that you can do with GraphCMS now? How are you seeing people use it? What are some features or things that you're working on that you want people to know about? Because I want to save some time for that. And then also chat, if you have any questions, if anything that you've seen has been confusing to you so far, or you have questions about GraphCMS, now's the time to drop them in, because we want to make sure that we can get those. But yeah, I kind of want to hand the floor over to you. And so I'm actually going to flip us back here to our video so we can kind of chit chat, take a break from that. And yeah, let's chat about GraphCMS. Like, yeah, what are you excited about right now? What do you guys got going on? Where are you seeing places where GraphCMS is being used, and for what kind of projects?
Right, that's a good question. I think probably one of the strongest aspects of GraphCMS that kind of sets us aside from some other CMSs in this space is, the mutations out of the box, kind of write functionality.
Yeah.
A lot of CMSs just provide querying capabilities. So to have mutations out of the box for your schema is pretty powerful. So I like that.
Very powerful.
One thing that's also recent that we kind of touched on a bit earlier is union types. So to be able to essentially have a relational field on a model that could potentially reference multiple models is really nice. And then that uses kind of native GraphQL union type query fragments and things like that. So that's those are two things that I'm kind of really excited about in using when implementing the code.
Yeah.
And there's some other stuff in the pipeline that kind of not really ready to show off yet. Maybe you could have me back on in the future when they're available. But we're working on remote fields. So you essentially be able to kind of specify a field inside of one of your models that actually goes off to another API, be that GraphQL or REST, and actually returns data from another API.
That's very powerful.
So some an element of schema federation. It's kind of nice. So we're working on that, and that's somewhat close to being able to show that off. So
that's awesome. I can think of a million use cases for that. I'll just, even one from this event, like maybe I want to pull in the weather, projected weather for the days of the event. It's a physical location. Boom. That's like an immediate use. I can think of a 50 gazillion, but that's just like an example that's tangible to what we just built. That's really awesome. I would love to see that. I can't wait. That's exciting. And then sorry, go ahead.
Weather is an example that we've actually kind of seen demoed internally. So pulling in weather for a city. So if you had like a city UI where you could click on cities and it would pull in the weather data, and perhaps you had other data living inside of GraphCMS. In the context of events, you could have an RSVP list, perhaps with different event service. And you want to pull that in from somewhere else in the GraphCMS, or even ticketing. You pull in ticketing data, that kind of stuff. Pretty cool.
And with the ability of mutations, would it be possible to? Because at that point, like instead of just on the querying field, would it be possible to also do like writing to outside APIs? Does that make sense?
That does make sense, and I'm not sure if that's kind of in the scope of this initial release, at least. Right now, it's just going to be reading data.
Still very powerful.
At least initially.
Yeah. Still endless amount of use cases, but hey, free idea. There you go. Take it away.
Exactly.
But love to see it. Also, the automatic translations, I feel like that is something that is huge. I don't know if anyone has ever had to deal with manual translations before. This is not just a GraphCMS thing. This is an anything thing. Translations are difficult.
Mhm.
And to be able to have that as something that would be like out of the box, whether that's like, some kind of paid add-on or anything, it's well worth the investment. I know that's amazing. Like just from looking at it from the point of Apollo, we'd love to be able to support more languages and stuff like that with a lot of
Mm.
our content. And so yeah, that's really awesome.
A couple of other things that come to mind that, well, one we've just launched is a Netlify integration. So you'll be able to kind of associate GraphCMS projects with a Netlify project and
Nice.
kind of trigger builds that way directly in the UI.
Love it.
Another thing we're doing as well, we've got a migration tool that will be kind of coming out soon, which is essentially a JavaScript SDK for programmatically creating schemas.
Oh, cool. Very cool. Yeah, so y'all are
Yeah, so
busy.
so that's yeah, pretty busy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh, it,
but it's exciting.
it is exciting. And I just want to focus on like a lot of the things that you're doing and sounds like that are coming down the road. It's just, it shows that GraphCMS is thinking about the developer experience and taking it a step further, kind of really trying to create that whole picture, being able to do writes as opposed to that. How easy it was to break out and control the authorization of these different actions, being able to create those tokens to do very specific things. It's a great pattern. I love that. And it really makes it like easier to have that fine grained control and lock folks down. We saw how easy it was to take any GraphQL client. In this case, we used Apollo client, but you could use Urkel, you could use React Query, you could use, literally anything. Fetch, like honestly, dealer's choice. So it's very versatile. Templates with Next.js, Gatsby, e-commerce examples. I love it. Y'all are doing really amazing things.
Yeah, just one point to when you talked about kind of API authorization and permissions and access. So we're actually working on enhancing that feature and providing more fine-grained controls
Nice.
via kind of content-based permissions. So you could be able to kind of create specific roles inside of your project, assign a user a role, and they will only have access to, you could specify specific access to certain content or certain models and things like that. Currently, right now, it's more generic controls where you can say this person can read documents, but they can't write them.
Right.
Perhaps you wanted to let a contributor write to a certain model, but not other models.
Yep.
So you'll be able to kind of do that. Much more fine-grained controls are coming soon as well.
That's awesome. So we got a good question from chat from Vain Figure. Thank you. So they're saying if a parent company makes multiple projects, so like if let's say under my user I create multiple projects, is it possible to have single like shared API keys that would work across projects, or is the API key at the project level? I think what they're saying is like, they might one person might be able to do certain things across multiple projects and they just want to carry that over. Like where does the scope start? Like is the authentication project based or org based, I guess would be the question.
Yeah, good question. So right now, everything is project scoped. So that includes all of your data, which is your assets as well. Authentication and API access is all scoped to a specific project. So we find that some customers do have multiple projects and they kind of manage that internally.
Got it. Awesome. Very cool. Okay. So we'll take one more second to see if any more questions flow in. But before we step away, where can folks find you if they're, they see this, they watch the video, and they're curious to find out more about GraphCMS? Who should they reach out to? What are the best places to get ramped up on GraphCMS? Lay it out there.
Sure. So you can find GraphCMS at graphcms.com.
Yeah.
We've just rolled out our new documentation that we're kind of slowly iterating on and improving. So that's at /docs, graphcms.com/docs. There will be reference applications living there, guides, user guides, getting started guides. And all those kind of starter templates that I was talking about with Next.js, with Gatsby, with React, Vue, etc., they'll all live there too. So we're really kind of amplifying our developer presence and developer experience, and it's all going to kind of live at graphcms.com. So check it out there. Check out those docs, and we're always kind of keen to hear feedback from people.
Yeah.
There's a form on the docs to kind of send feedback. So yeah.
Yeah, and then right down in the corner, you can also see our Twitter handles, so you can reach out there. And then I just dropped your Twitter handle in there, so hope that's okay. But yeah, so folks, if you want to reach out to Jonathan on Twitter and blow up his DMs, you can also do that. If you have questions about Apollo and how Apollo might play a part with GraphCMS, feel free to reach out to myself. Happy to answer any Apollo-related questions that you might have.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody wants to ask me anything about GraphCMS, you can get at me on Twitter. My handle is the same on GitHub if you wanted to poke around some of my code stuff.
Nice.
I also stream myself on YouTube and Twitter.
Nice.
Yeah. Anyone who wants to ask anything about GraphCMS or GraphQL or React, Next.js, whatever, just drop me a message. Happy to help.
Love it. Absolutely love it. And I think from my experience here, we got to get you back on. We got to look at taking a look at building something with a GraphCMS and Next.js. I'm super pumped on that. We can also do some more things down the road as more features are released. Would absolutely love to do that. Thank you for the follows that are coming in. So we got, I guess it's maybe a question, Neo4j versus GraphQL. They're separate things. GraphQL is the communication layer. Neo4j would be where you want to store data. In this case, you would, like, the difference here is GraphCMS is going to be built for you. You're going to have a lot of work to do if you're pulling the database yourself. You need an entire UI and admin and authorization and authentication built by yourself in order to be able to power something like what you saw here today with Neo4j. And yeah, you can take that route if you want, but this is why GraphCMS exists, so that you don't have to suffer that pain. You can set up all of your data needs within a nice UI, have all of that handled for you, and then just query a API. So it's a matter of what it is that you're willing to take on and what you want to build. But yeah, so I'd say that's the best way to sum that up. With that, I think we're going to go ahead. We're going to get out of here, folks. We appreciate you joining us. I had a blast. Jonathan, I hope you had fun. Thank you, everyone, for joining us in chat. And yeah, we'll see you all later.
Yeah, I had a great time. Really appreciate you having me on, Kurt. And like you said, we should definitely have to do this again soon for sure.
Absolutely. All right. See y'all later, folks. We're going to head out of here.